Ding dong. I'm minus the bell, so.
Join me to play. Oh, so lady and sea, I lost was so rowdy as the twilight's last gleam. There's brush lights and bright stars through the air. Oh, the grand must we watch, work so gallantly stream, and the rockets the lovebirds singing, yea, crew to love, and flags to bear. Oh, sing the stag stars, and the land of the free, and the home of the free. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Gardner?
Pray with me, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the leaders of our club, of our Rotary organization, and all that we're able to do through the efforts of many. We thank you for this great country. Please bless our leaders. Help us to serve others and ourselves.
Mr. Terry Duffy. Birthdays and anniversaries.
I'm not sure, President Rick. How do you manage to lose your bet?
I've lost a lot in life, and I guess the bell was next in line.
Anyway, it's gonna be short and sweet today. No birthdays to celebrate. We don't do that very many times in a year, and only a pair of anniversaries. On October the 21st, Demetrius Logan, Jane, and Keith McAlalty and Susan. Hope you all have a fantastic week. Thank you.
Mr. Kirk Davis, the introduction of guests and visiting rotaries.
Another short and sweet one. We are happy to welcome our guests and visiting Rotarians today. I'll call your name, and we only have one. Would you please remain standing until all the visitors are recognized. We have our guest, Tim Goodman, guest of delegate. Welcome.
Mr. Scott Childers, Camp Master. $1,638 points. Last four are 0205. 0205. Hey, Mr. Brown. All right, so Kenny Benson gets half, and Wiregrass Rehab Center gets the other half. Thank you, John. Just a few announcements. I don't know if you guys remember we got the donut pickup day, but we'll let Margaret talk about that, so I don't tell you to go to the wrong place. Another reminder on November the 4th, which is a couple weekends away, just giving, we'll be at the Peanut Festival, having lunch out there. And then I'll remind you next week, and I'll send out a club-wide email over the next couple of weeks to send you a couple of reminders around here. We will not be meeting here, we'll be at the Peanut Festival. And there is no meeting on November the 11th. And I'll send you the reminders for that too, also that's Veterans Day. So no meeting at all on November 11th. And we'd like to start our program off. Ms. Margaret.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Okay, so we are celebrating today World Polio Day. Day is actually October 24th, so it's the same as October 24th every year, but we're doing that today. And so just kind of an update on our Purple Pinky Donuts. So tomorrow is our pickup day. And so just a reminder, so for our club, we donated 400 boxes of Purple Pinky Donuts. So that is the equivalent of $75,000 that we will contribute to end polio. So that is amazing. So thank you guys again for your generosity and your great spirit in helping us to do that. And so I do have some esteemed speakers today who will help talk about polio and again kind of reinforce why we do that as Rotarians. But I did want to give just a little bit of information. Maybe. Maybe not. So for pickup, tomorrow at 8:30, from 8:30 to 11:30 at First United Methodist Church at the Fellowship Hall. So it's going to be the doors that are facing Main Street for you guys that are picking up. And for those who have asked to donate, so we will be donating and delivering those to the place that you have chosen. Okay, so just Rotary and the fight against polio. So Sam and Dell will talk a little bit more about that. But what is polio? And so it is a disease, and I cannot read that. So I'm gonna get Sam to talk about that. But I do now. It's a disease that affects children under the age of 5. There is no cure, but polio is preventable with a vaccine. So that's the whole purpose of us doing the Purple Pinky Donut Project. Only 2 countries remain endemic, and that is Afghanistan and Pakistan. We've reduced the cases by 99% since 1988, and until we end polio, every child is at risk. And so those are the 2 current status, and I believe this is current as of October, 22 cases in Afghanistan and 32 cases in Pakistan. And so I do have just a couple of short videos from that Rotary has put out, just give a little bit more information about polio and again why we have this campaign every year. I got one more video.
Right now, at this very moment, there's a movement happening. See, Rotary sparked an idea that was once unthinkable. ridding the world of a horrible disease, polio. A global community of scientists, advocates, governments, and health workers, people all doing their part to beat the unbeatable, track the untraceable, reach the unreachable. And it's all happening right now, people. This part of history belongs to everybody, so tell everybody, near, far, young, and old, that it will take everybody. Because legacies aren't forged overnight. Making history isn't instant. In the decades since Rotary and its partners started this journey, billions of children have been protected from polio. But we still have work to do. And this part's on us, all of us. Part-time, full-time, full stop. Right now, no breaks, no indifference. You and me. Because polio isn't unstoppable. We are. Together, we end polio.
Okay, so this time, Miss Dale Goodwin, who needs no introduction, says she's got an interesting fact about polio that she's going to share. Okay. I just want to talk about some of the famous polio victims. Donovan, singer-songwriter, legendary singer and songwriter. He has joined Rotary in its efforts to fight to eradicate polio that afflicted him during much of his childhood. He contracted polio at the age of 3 in Scotland. The disease weakened his right leg and left it thinner and shorter for the rest of his life. He was confined to his bed for much of his childhood. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame singer said his father would read him poetry. In a recent interview, Donovan said that listening to poetry piqued his interest in creative writing. If I hadn't had that experience, maybe I wouldn't have gone on to write and sing my own songs in one area for over a century. I feel strongly that having a disability in this area makes you explore other areas. That was the case for me having polio. He has recently become a Rotary Public Ambassador. As a Rotary Polio Ambassador, Donovan supports the Purple for Polio campaign. It's a collaboration between Rotary International in Great Britain and Ireland and the Royal Horticultural Society. The purple, as we know, represents the colored dye that health workers use during immunization campaigns to mark the fingers of the children who have received the polio vaccine. Donovan said it was easy for me to join this campaign because I had polio. And I wanted to tell everybody that it's almost eradicated around the world. This is very important. I want to help with that last push, which is always the hardest. Some of his songs were Mellow Yellow, Catch the Wind, and Sunshine Superman. Mia Farrow, the movie star, at 9 years old, she contracted polio during an outbreak in Los Angeles. She was placed in isolation ward for 3 weeks and later said the experience marked the end of her childhood. She used an iron lung on and off for 9 months. Farrow told the New York Post, "What I saw will never leave me in the hospitals and in the public wards for contagious diseases." She said she couldn't walk for a time, and her dad was there for her. Farrow said he would carry her around to a lot of different places. Farrow was kept away from her 6 siblings for several months. When she came home from the hospital, all of her belongings had been burned to prevent the spread of the disease. She's been a part of the polio vaccinations and has even gone to countries doing the polio vaccines. She adopted her son from India that is paralyzed from the waist down with polio. Some of her movies were Rosemary's Baby, The Great Gatsby, Crimes and Misdemeanors. Joni Mitchell, singer, at 9 years old, she contracted polio in an epidemic and was hospitalized for weeks. She said her spine was twisted up like a train wreck.
I couldn't walk. I was paralyzed. Following this incident, she focused her creative talent and considered singing for a career. 40 years later, it comes back with a vengeance, Mitchell said. She was 51 and she started feeling mind-numbing fatigue and muscle weakness. Post-polio syndromes affect about 25 to 40% of the polio survivors, decades after their initial incident. Joni stated, I have to guard my energy, just like the bunnies in those battery commercials. I'm the one that's about to kill over. I'm not the one that keeps going and keeps going. She wrote songs, You Got a Friend, Help Me, and Big Yellow Taxi. Neil Young, singer, songwriter. At the age of 5, Neil contracted polio and was hospitalized at the Toronto Sick Children's Hospital. He recovered from the disease, although he was left with a slight limp. He received the polio vaccine when it rolled out about 4 years after his illness. And since he's become a big advocate for vaccines. He's met with Canadian Rotarians and helped them with a lot of their initiatives in Canada with Rotary to help with the spread of the information about polio. He was originally with Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Some of his songs were Cinnamon Girl, Knocking on Heaven's Door, Rocking in the Free World, Stop Children, What's That Sound? The most famous person that I found that had polio was President Franklin Roosevelt. He was the 32nd president of the United States. Not only did he serve as an unprecedented 4 terms in office, but he was the first president to have a significant disability. FDR was diagnosed with polio at the age of 39. His diagnosis came as a big surprise, since most cases are diagnosed in infancy or early childhood. He came to Warm Springs, Georgia to get into the hot baths. He would also work with physical therapists and physicians there to help him develop exercises so he would be able to get around. Roosevelt remained paralyzed from the waist down and relied on a wheelchair and leg braces for mobility, which he took a big effort in trying to conceal from the public. 2 of the highly successful things that Roosevelt did is when he regularly visited Warm Springs, Georgia, he wanted to come up with some kind of benefit there. He and some of the founders established the Georgia Warm Springs Foundation to fund the facility, which became a mecca for children with polio to receive extensive rehab and to learn to become a part of society. Roosevelt felt that those with disabilities can lead a full and productive life. Another thing that Roosevelt and Basil O'Connor formed the National Foundation for Infantile Paralysis, which we know now is the March of Dimes. He was the driving force behind trying to get non-for-profit monies to help fund polio, which later led to some of the research to develop the vaccine. Jack Nicklaus, a famous golfer, he contracted polio when he was 13 years old, a year or 2 before the polio vaccine was developed. His symptoms included stiffness, joint pain, loss of coordination, and weight loss. His sister, Marilyn, was also diagnosed with polio around the same time, and the doctors believed that she contracted it from him. Marilyn was 10 years old and was unable to walk for over a year, but eventually she regained some of her movement. Nicholas recovered after a few weeks from polio, but he still suffers some of the post-polio syndrome side effects, he says. He said that his joints have been sore at times all throughout his career. He was able to have less side effects, he said, so he was blessed than his sister did. Tim and I had the pleasure of meeting him at the Rotary International Convention in Atlanta the year I was president of our Dothan Rotary Club and heard his story. He is nicknamed the Golden Bear, and at the conclusion of his speech at the Rotary Convention, he was presented with a golden bear stuffed animal and also a Paul Harris fellowship pin. So he continues to support Rotary's mission to eradicate polio. And he's also a Rotary ambassador for polio. Nicholas hosted a special Rotary golfing event in Jupiter, Florida to raise funds for the cause. With the help of the greatest golfer and the international slate of generous Rotarians, polio raised $5.25 million. Jack Nicholas said, as a polio survivor, I feel blessed to have been a part of an event that raised $5.2 million in one day for global polio eradication efforts, as well as other impactful pillars that makes up Rotary International's mission. Donors from around the world and the country, Japan and India and all over, show passion for Rotary's work. I walked away inspired and with my new Rotary friends. Of course, he's won over 6 Masters. He's played in a record of 154 consecutive major championships, for which he was eligible in 1957 for the U.S. Open, playing on through 1998 in the U.S. Open. He holds many remarkable stats. These are just a few of the highly successful polio survivors, with many having Rotary ties. Thank you. Thank you, Dale. So I thought it would be helpful for us to kind of humanize this, which we know how serious polio is. It kind of brings home when you hear people that we know and see on TV, just how real this thing is. So I would definitely say I've got the A team up here with me today. So I am very happy to introduce my new friend, Mr. Sam Adams, who was a past district governor for Rotary. And so Sam was born in Colorado Springs, Colorado in 1955. So he's a young man, as you can tell. He went to the University of Alabama, so I'm not so sure about that, but on an ROTC scholarship. He was on active duty as an Army Airborne officer in the Judge Advocate General Corps. He also served in the Alabama Army National Guard, attained the rank of major before resigning to take care of his ailing parents. He also served as circuit judge for the 12th Judicial Circuit in Enterprise, Alabama, where he met his wife of 38 years, the former Mary Virginia Martin. He currently serves as president and CEO of Adams Family Enterprises, LLC. He is a member of the Alabama State Bar and retired as general counsel for Troy University after 25 years. For the last 20 years, he's been instrumental in developing downtown Montgomery by converting century old warehouses to upscale law departments. He has served in most all the leadership positions at the Montgomery Rotary Club. He was president in 1997 to 1998 when the club reached record membership levels. He has supported and participated on hand in many worthwhile organizations. The Alabama Council on Economic Education past chairman. He said that's enough. That's his bio is like this big. I do want to say though, his hobbies include hunting, hiking, golf, reading, playing rook, and solving jumbles. He also is prone to tell really corny jokes, he tells me, so we'll have to see about that. So it is my honor to introduce this name, Mr. Sam Adams.
I'm not real good behind microphones, and so for the first hour of my discussion, we're going to go over a couple of these books. But I want to go ahead and get started, get the puns out of the way. This is one of those things that I do. It's not for you, it's for your children and grandchildren as we come upon the Halloween season, because I know you're going to probably be gathering up for Thanksgiving and maybe have some kids show up. So I'm going to just tell you a few bad puns to begin with, and if I get the requisite response, then I'll tell you a couple bad ones at the end, just to kind of round it out. Now, why is the Scarecrow considered to be the smartest of all the Halloween characters? Because he's outstanding in his field. If you run across, say you're out walking your children and you see a bunch of scary clowns coming after you, they're getting ready to attack you. What do? You go after the juggler. That's a medical joke. Anyway, we'll move on. All right, I want to follow up on what Dale said, just a couple of points. Another fella who you may not be aware of, who was in the golfing world that we all at least know or can relate to, was Arnold Palmer. You say, no way, Arnold Palmer didn't have polio. Well, he did not. He did not. But his father did. His father was a really good athlete. But when he contracted polio, it made him limp and paralyzed in one leg. And so what he did as a job was was able to get a job at a local golf course as a greenskeeper. And he worked on that and on that and on that for years and years. And he became the head of the groundskeeping at this golf course. Well, guess what? His son wanted to be with him. And so he took his son to play golf on that golf course, and the rest is history. And as bad as polio is, it can lead to things that we never can imagine. And Arnold Palmer credits the fact that his father had polio for him having a fantastic career in golf, which is really amazing. We also had a lady who's now deceased. Her name is Susan Barfoot. I know y'all don't recognize that name, but she in her own right was an incredible lady. And she contracted polio here. She's in Montgomery, and she contracted polio when she's like 10 years old. And it was complete paralysis. She could move her left hand just a little bit. But she did not let polio stop her. She went on to graduate from high school. She went to the University of Alabama and got a degree in social services. She was one of the lead proponents in the ADH, Americans with Disability Act proponents. And she made sure that there were available methods in which to get around. And she did fantastic things. Her son is in her nephew is in the legislature now, and she spoke at our annual Rotary convention up in Birmingham back in 2019. Unfortunately, COVID got her, and she died. But she was a mover and a shaker. And I'll tell you, polio does not stop life. And you gave some incredible examples, Dale, of people who were not, they took it on and said, we're going to do better. And that's what life is really about. We're all going to face challenges. Some are physical, some are mental. You don't know what it's going to be. But it's a community effort trying to get over those humps. And so those two people, in my mind, are terrific heroes, and they're terrific examples. One other example I want to mention about polio is, and a lot of emphasis, and I know y'all got all these flyers on your table, and y'all can look at them. There's some interesting stuff in there. Some of it's unrelated to polio. Some of it is directly related to polio. And one of them is a flyer that shows the representation that was up on the screen a minute ago, that we have about 54 cases of polio currently this year. And you just say, "Dad, blasted!" 4 years ago we were at 100, and then it went down to 22, then went down to 6. Now we're all the way back up to 50 again. You say, "Well, when is this going to end?" Well, I'm telling you, this is a challenge. We've been doing this for 40 years now, and are we going to give up? No, we can do this, and we can accomplish it when we all work together. But what was interesting about that, when you see that the two nations that are involved, as you probably know, Pakistan and Afghanistan, they're conflict countries, and a lot of, I guess, incorrect attitudes about these shots have gotten in there, and they don't want to give shots to people. But if you recognize that one little area can disperse all kind of problems, all you have to do is look at Gaza. Are y'all familiar that the Rotary got involved with the Gaza contributions? There was an active case of wild polio in Gaza. And you say, well, what does that have to do with Rotary? Well, Rotary had $500,000, and it went to immunize 300, I think it's 250 or 300,000 children in that area to keep it contained. And you say, wow, that's a lot of money for just one case. The point is that it can spread. It can spread very quickly. And as we learned from not too long ago, I think it was last year or the year before last, there was a case that popped up in Israel. It ended up in New York, and it went into the boroughs of New York. And it was because one guy who had gotten a different type of polio. Wild polio is where it comes out of nature. Then there's circular polio that is created, the person contracts polio from the shot itself. It's very rare, but it does happen. And so this guy had gotten polio, flew into New York, and had exposed it to several people. And those people who had not been immunized were prone to get it. And you say, well, how many people are we talking about? Let's look at Rotary's contribution to this. And this is pretty phenomenal because we always look at the negative. Oh, we only got 10 more to go. Oh, we only have 40 more people. And then the next year it'll only be down to 10. Well, look at it from a different perspective. Over the time that we've been immunizing children for polio, we've immunized 4 billion children. Let's think about that just a minute. Not million. 4 billion children, including our families. Each one of us got either a shot or ate one of those little sugar cubes. We are all a product of having been protected from polio. And unfortunately for my family, my brother, who's 12 years older than I am, he contracted polio in 1954. Well, you know what the time frame is? In 1955 is when they came out with the Salk vaccine. Well, he didn't get it. But the blessing for him was that he didn't have any residual effects of that. And he survived. And he's a brilliant guy, went to West Point, is an engineer, has been living out in the land of fruit and nuts. I'm sorry, he's living out in California, and has done great. But he's now 80 plus years old. So it didn't slow him down a bit. But when he was quarantined, he sat in, or he was in rooms where children were in the iron lung. And some of those children died. And it made a profound impact on him. And so out in his little world out in California, he's a big proponent of immunization and fighting polio. Now, there is a question as can you have onset polio in your later years? I think that probably has been proven to be true. And that's a very concerning thing because apparently the polio vaccine, you would think the last 60 or 70 years, some people are starting to come back and get it. He has not had that problem, but he knows somebody that has indicated that. And so it's still out there. And it's something that we need to consciously take on as a group. And some people say, well, we just keep throwing money at it. But think about that number. 4 billion children are walking around free and healthy today. Now you look at maybe 1950 here in Alabama. Well, let's say, I think it was Alabama. It was maybe it was across the country, but in 1950 there were 50,000 cases of polio. Okay, and Alabama had its share. I challenge you to go back and look at your library and take a look at some of the old newspapers, especially during the 1940s, the 1950s. It's the front page of every newspaper. This week we had 6 cases. 1 succumbed. The other 2 are crippled. That was across the South, and it's really scary. And so that's why we started kicking in. So we've dropped it down to virtually nothing now here in the United States, but Rotary stepped in. So we need not only take care of the United States, we need to take care of as many people as we can. So it'll help us as well. So it worked out pretty good. But let me mention something to you. Dell brought out a very, very salient point about FDR. And most of y'all, familiar with FDR and recognize that his contributions because he had polio. Well, he was interested in it. Well, the thing that we don't recognize, and I want to share this book with you right here. And it's a 300-page book. It's called Polio, An American Story. And a large part of it is the politics of polio back when FDR got it and people he contacted and learned and try to stop it the best he can. This just breaks my heart. But out of these 300 pages, there's one reference to Montgomery, Alabama, and the state of Alabama about polio. It's when they were immunizing children in the late 1950s, that Black children were allowed to get immunized, but they had to stay outside the school at Lanier High School. Some of y'all may be familiar with Lanier High School. And that's the only reference it gets about polio and what the South did for it. And fortunately for us, due to Dell's efforts and Bruce's efforts, we cracked that secret open. And now we know what Tuskegee has done to make such an incredible impact on the study and the treatment of polio, because the Tuskegee Institute for Infantile Paralysis treated black children and white children all over the country. A lot of people think of Tuskegee, well, that's where they did the syphilis stuff. They did, that was a bad thing. But guess what? We also had this opportunity to treat and learn that this vaccine that Salk came up with works. And these children were protected and they were treated. And I don't know if y'all have seen this or not. If you hadn't, it's worth watching again, even if you had, is listening to one of our federal judges, Myron Thompson, up in Montgomery. And Myron Thompson is a federal district judge, and I don't know if he still covers Dothan or not. Did y'all know that? Maybe not. Anyway, he covers the Southern District for Alabama. And he contracted polio when he was a little kid. He was a good athlete outdoors and all this. Polio hit his leg, and it basically crippled him in his left leg. And so instead of crying the rest of his life, he went to study. He became a very good scholar. He went on to Yale Law School and became a prosecutor, and then he became a judge, and he's been a judge ever since. And when we were doing our research on the polio project, it turned out, I've been in front of Myron Thompson a number of times. I never related his limp to polio, but he shared it, and he's a very private person. He shared the fact that the people over in Tuskegee were so important to him because he had a black doctor, he had a black nurse, and their children, a lot of them were black. And that he knew that he was being comforted and treated well, and he was able to overcome it. And there's a great speech that he makes to the Birmingham Rotary Club. Have y'all seen that? Anybody seen that video? Well, I'll send it to Bruce, because he gets up there and he talks about what an incredible impact that one thing had on his life. Now, politically, I'm not on the same side as Myron Thompson. He has a different point of view about things than I do. But I will give him a ton of credit for recognizing that particular aspect of how Rotary stepped in and has been helping the world fight it. Now, is that important? Well, it could be. If you look at this video that's on YouTube, you can look it up. Type in Myron Thompson's life story or something like that on YouTube. That thing's gotten over 4 million hits, all related to how Rotary stepped in and opened up a secret that had been left dormant over in Tuskegee for years and years. And because of Bruce's research and Bruce's work, and a number of other people, obviously a lot of people are involved, that created an opportunity for Rotary to say, look, we can come together to solve problems and make the world a better place. So I throw those comments out to you for the purpose that we have a blessing here that we enjoy good health. And most of us do. I've been to a number of clubs where there may have been one person who had polio early on, wasn't affected by it, had a mother or sister may have been impacted by it. But by now, most of us it's a far distant dream. We don't really remember it very well. But I assure you, those people that are impacted by it remember it very dearly. And just like you mentioned, all those actors and actresses, it made a big impression on them. And we have a duty as Rotarians. I mean, our motto is service above self. And we're not looking for glory. We're not looking for a pat on the back. We're here because we want to help people. And there are 100 different avenues. I mean, Rotary has, 7 avenues of focus. And you can pick any one of those, but the one that we chose 40 years ago is still paramount today. And it's a very important aspect. Now, getting to something that Dell mentioned about the purple pinky thing, that we just started about 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, it hadn't been that long. And we brought it down here, and this fella up in Chattanooga or Nashville? Chattanooga. David Bibickhauser or something like that. Anyway, David came up with this idea because he had, these donuts are long, they're all clairs or whatever. And he said, you know what, that looks very strangely familiar. And some of y'all have this picture on the, I can't remember if it's in here or not. There's a picture of a little girl with her finger, and it's covered, it's got a little purple end to it. I said, I can make a donut look like that, and he did. And it sounded really stupid the first year he did it, and he raised over $50,000. And I happened to be up at an award ceremony up in the Tennessee district. And did I even explain who I am? Y'all may not, some of y'all may not even know. I am what they call the Regional Rotary Foundation Coordinator, which basically means I'm a big cheerleader. But I cover Tennessee, and Alabama, and Kentucky, and Indiana, and Ohio in their fundraising efforts. Or not only that, but also the grant side. I oversee the foundation, the Rotary Foundation. And of course, a big chunk of that is the polio efforts. And so I was up there, this guy was talking about these donuts. And I said, well, what happened? And he said, we made all this money the first year, and we're doing better. And so we brought it down here. And guess what? Dale's very successful, was able to get all the clubs in our district to participate, and hopefully we'll do it again this year. I looked the numbers yesterday, and we are right at about, I think, between $45,000 and $50,000 contributed. Your particular district contributed over $10,000. I mean, your club contributed over $10,000. My club contributed. We went up.
We were the number one club.
Exactly. I was getting that. And I'm not the Avis rental guy. We're number 2 in Montgomery rental for 6,000. And we try harder, but y'all did a phenomenal job. And that, what's the multiplier? Somebody tell me what the multiplier of one sale of donuts. Anybody know? Is it 7.5? 7.5. So whoever the mathematician in here is, say you have $50,000 and multiply that by 7.5, you're getting up to almost $500,000 in one day that this district was able to raise for polio. Now, how far does that money go? It can do a whole bunch of shots. It can pay for a whole bunch of people going out to deliver the shots. It can pay for the administration within the countries of it, because it's not easy. This is a very hard work. Y'all know we've had Rotarians that have been killed, have been shot, and died trying to deliver shots to children. So I mean, that's pretty gutsy. I'm just amazed about it. But this particular district has done exceedingly well in supporting the polio program. And one other thing, how much time do I have? Oh, man, I didn't even get to this. I didn't get to that. Okay, well, I'm sorry. I get so animated by this because this is really exciting stuff. You got to embrace it. And then all y'all say, please get me out of here. I've had my chicken. I'm going to let you off here in just a minute. But recognize that our zone, and when I say zone, I cover all those states. Our zone has contributed more for the polio eradication program than just about any other zone in the world. There are 35 zones, and I'm ahead in charge of one zone. And we have done as good or better than all the other zones, which is pretty good. And it's really based on your support and your efforts. Now, where's that little basket that had all the numbers on it? Everybody still have their numbers? Anybody where's that basket with numbers on it? Anybody got it? Wasn't there a basket that had numbers? All right, well, okay. Anybody see it? Real quick, I gotta get rid of a bunch of wonderful gifts. And you're sitting here and you're gonna be thrown away. Oh, you threw it away. Well, okay. All right. Whose birthday is today? Anybody have a birthday today or within a week, a month? All right, here we go. Congratulations. I know you wanted this. This is a Zone 3031 Rotary little program. You can add information right so you give the children or grandchildren pass that on to them. So that's one good thing. All right, let's see. Who's the newest person here in the Rotary? Who joined within the last year? Anybody joined within the last year? There we go. Well, there you go. All right. Well, and what's your name now? I'm sorry.
Grandma Tina.
Fran, okay, Fran, right, okay, well, here, I'm gonna give you something, now, this is a great gift. Now you're gonna say, what in the world is he talking about? All right, our club started over 100 years ago. I was here when you celebrated your 100-year club. I mean, 100-year anniversary. And this is a book that shows all the people, even has a photographs of the people who started our club over 100 years ago, which is pretty darn cool. So I'm going to give you, and I encourage you, if you don't have one of these. If you don't have a little thing you can hand out, go ahead and get a picture of all you in your club. And make it a celebration of the number of years you've been in it. This is a hard drive, or it was a thumb drive. You stick that in there, and this will be on. And it's interesting because you look at what all those people were doing 110 years ago, which is really amazing. And it's a lot of fun. Okay, now, I hate to ask this, but who is the most senior person in here as far as being a Rotarian in this club? Anybody know? Pretty close? Anybody? Come on, we got to do this quick. Time's running out. How long, Tom, how long you been in the club?
Since 1966.
66. Can anybody beat 66? Of course not. All right. Now, I need to tell you something. This, you won't see this anywhere else in the district. Yeah, you won't see this anywhere in Alabama. I am giving you what's called actually fantastic. It's called an Arch Plump Society Challenge Point. Okay? Here you go. Congratulations, Tom. And Arch Plump was the guy who created what? The Rotary Foundation. Back years and years and years ago. And he saw the value of Rotary. I mean, I joined Rotary unabashedly because I needed to meet people for my business. It was a networking society. And it took me about 5 years to realize it's not about networking, it's about service. It's about helping others and doing what you want to do in a way that can help people, not because you want the glory, but because you seriously want to help your fellow man. Okay, what's another category? Real quick. Wait a minute. Okay, I'll tell you what. Since we have a president up here who is a very wonderful guy, and I consider his name Don Rickard, not Rickard, but whatever. I mean, I'm going to give him a challenge point. Now, do y'all know what challenge points are? Some of y'all military guys do, don't you? Okay, challenge points are when you walk up and you go to the bar, and another military guy said, you slap point down here, I'm with the 988 engineer unit. The other guy says, well, I'm with the 407 medical unit. Well, whoever challenges, one of them has to buy a beer from the other. So a challenge coin is always a great way to start a conversation. Rick, I'm going to give you my challenge coin, which has not only has the state of Alabama, it shows where District 6880 is, but also highlights parts of it. It highlights Mobile. It highlights Dothan. It has a peanut on there on that coin somewhere. And on the back side of it, it has the four-way text. And that's what I want to leave you with as we wrap up our time here. Think about it. I don't know if you're going to repeat it or not, but is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will build goodwill, better friendships, will be beneficial to all concerned. I'm telling you, polio eradication is benefiting everybody. It is the best thing that we can do in Rotary right now. I want you to continue to support it. I thank you immeasurably for all the work you've done. I looked at y'all's website and all the other things. I mean, I like the fact that the White Elephant Club's been around since 1946. Really? That is so impressive. We can't keep one project going for 5 years in our club. But that is a tremendous compliment. The Miracle Fields are fantastic. Y'all just do a great job at everything. I'm preaching to the choir. Please go out and spread the joy and the wonders of Rotary and make the magic happen. Thank you very much. Oh, wait. Can I get some more jokes? Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry about the other jokes. I have to write these down. I'm getting too old for them. Okay, here you go. All right. What has 100 ears but can't hear a thing? A cornfield. Okay. What does a ghost serve for dessert? Ice cream. Tough crowd here. And finally, what do you call a witch on the beach? A sandwich. Thank you.
I just wanna know what you're taking, because I need a little lunch. Just a little bit, I think it all, we might be in trouble. Maybe a little while. Again, hey, next week's program, we got Dean Mitchell coming to give us an update on Hudson Alpha. And all the amazing things they have going on. Next board meeting will be November the 18th, which is a few weeks off, but, we don't meet that week before, so I'll send out reminders to the board members for the next board meeting. If we can, let's, and again, Sam and Margaret, thank you again for amazing donuts. I know you still got a lot of work tomorrow, and if you're helping tomorrow, I think, you got 8:30 at First United Methodist. So I will see y'all in the morning. I expect everybody to be there. So, yeah, is everybody coming? No, all right. All right, let's stand for the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, and do. Is it true? Is it fair and observed? To live in freedom and justice. Of the additional problems.
All right.
I don't know, Tim. Well, I know it's a couple shots.